Greetings, everyone. Peace to you all.
Oh, Mr. Marston. How are you doing today?
Welcome to another episode of Praiseworthy Reviews, where we go through video games to see if they are excellent and commendable. Today, we will be reviewing Red Dead Redemption, the 2010 action-adventure open-world game developed by Rockstar Games. Players play as John Marston, an outlaw-turned-rancher forced by the U.S. government to clean up the remnants of his past to save his family. As usual, we will be evaluating the game based on 5 criteria: fun factor, educational value, cultural value, spiritual value, and cost. For context, prior to this review, I have played GTA 3 and GTA Vice City, and I have finished this game to the credits. As far as the technical state is concerned, it generally ran fine for me, which you would expect for a 15-year-old game. So without further ado, let's jump in. Red Dead Redemption has a multitude of types of gameplay to be experienced throughout the game. There's a lot of random open-world activities, such as people asking for help, ambushes, and bounties, as well as herb collecting, animal hunting, and the like. However, most of the gameplay for the main story is mission-based, and can generally be categorized as ranching, racing, and combat. Ranching was a little surprising to me, but perhaps it shouldn't have been. Marston wants to be a rancher after all, and he must learn how to do ranching work, like taming wild horses or bringing in the cattle. These activities were relatively simple, but I enjoyed them more than I expected. Sometimes John is expected to race horses or wagons in speedruns, which I felt were okay, but not particularly fun, especially if people are shooting at you. Combat is mostly cover-based gunfights, hiding behind rocks and buildings to keep from getting shot while stepping out to shoot others. Players can attempt to target enemies or to shoot blindly, and the dead eye mechanic allows players to mark multiple targets in slow motion, as well as shoot specific body parts, which is generally pretty fun. Gunfights take place in a variety of situations to keep it interesting. Shootouts behind cover, on horseback, on trains, etc. There is also dueling, which is a variation of Deadeye, but I personally did not like the way that dueling was implemented in the game. The buttons were very counterintuitive. There is some progression in the game, mainly in terms of getting new and better weapons. The Deadeye also progresses slightly, but there's no real RPG elements or any serious skill trees or skill progression. The game is not as fun as I wanted it to be, but there was more variety than I expected given its age, so I'm going to give Red Dead 4 stars for fun factor. There is a surprising amount of educational value in Red Dead Redemption. As might be expected, there are some motor skills required in shooting the bad guys, although Deadeye removes much of that need. However, the factual knowledge that can be gleaned from the game is quite significant. The game feels very historical and well-researched, with authentic-sounding dialogue from the time period, allowing players to learn indirectly about the history. Many of the weapons are real weapons, or at least references to real weapons, including the actual manufacturers, like the Winchester repeater or the Springfield rifle. Players can also learn numerous phrases in authentic Spanish, some of it translated, much of it not. The mission names are intelligent and contain a lot of intertextuality, with numerous quotations or allusions to the Bible.
St. Peter, open up them pearly gates! I'm coming home!
Honestly, I was quite impressed with what could be learned from the game, and so I'm going to give Red Dead Redemption 5 stars for educational value. It's difficult to talk about the artistic impact of the game 15 years after release, especially given the fact that it was remastered. The way that many of the models and textures look seem quite dated, and yet the resolution and the frame rates are still quite modern. The animations, both facial ones and action-oriented ones, are not particularly impressive this many years later, but I could imagine that they were in 2010. While the visuals seem ancient, the music does not. I thoroughly enjoyed the tracks, especially many of the harmonica ones, which really gave the game a Western feel. And while not as moving as the harmonica solos in the night, the music meant to convey Mexico also felt pretty effective. In my opinion, one of the main highlights of the game is the voice acting. Rob Whithoff is phenomenal as John Marston, lending to John a sense of politeness and Western etiquette.
Of course. And thank you for saving my life,
while also giving John both cynicism and compassion, toughness, as well as vulnerability.
Here's full of wind as a horse with the collar.
The writing is stellar, too. As mentioned earlier, the dialogue feels incredibly smart and witty. The 1890s setting feels really authentic and allows the player to experience the Wild West, along with many of the issues of the time. The plot is less impressive and is relatively straightforward, but the character development of Marston and his interactions with those he meets, like Bonnie McFarlane, Landon Ricketts, and his former gang members, is what really sells the story. The ending is not quite what I wanted it to be, but there's no denying that it does feel impactful. Red Dead Redemption has shipped over 25 million copies, especially with its recent Switch 2 and PC releases. It has a number of awards, and it is considered one of the best video games of all time. A sequel, Red Dead Redemption 2, is also just as influential, and therefore, I'm going to assign Red Dead 5 stars for its cultural value. The spiritual value for Red Dead Redemption is somewhat complex. On the one hand, there are significant amounts of negative content. There are saloons and alcohol throughout.
Would you like to partake of a syringe of cocaine? I've quite enough for two.
Not right this minute, no.
One character even takes cocaine, although to be fair, it's portrayed pretty negatively. There's no actual gambling in terms of the player gambling real money, but John Marston can gamble in plenty of in-game card games like Hold'em or Blackjack. Even though Marston is generally polite, there is a significant amount of vulgar language, with profanity in English and Spanish. There's lots of violence, including slow-motion explosions of blood and gore. There are plenty of prostitutes, some of whom may proposition Marston when he walks by. Although the nudity is mostly restrained, there is one brief instance of sex, which seems extremely unnecessary.
She thinks she's your wife.
As far as positive content is concerned, however, this is the first game that I can remember where the protagonist not only says no to casual sex, he actually reprimands another character for cheating on his girlfriend.
Don't you love peasants? I love them. They have such purity.
Are you gonna marry her?
Ha! Marry a peasant? My dear boy, don't be absurd.
As mentioned earlier, there are numerous biblical references. Christianity is referenced throughout the game, and many of the characters are shown reflecting on their deeds or misdeeds. ESRB rates this as M for mature 17+, which I think is unfortunately necessary given the significant amounts of objectionable content in the game. Despite this, the messages of the game are generally positive, with good social commentary and some nuanced exploration of the lawlessness and, well, redemption of the Wild West. For more analysis on the themes of the game, check out my biblical themes videos for this game. Because of these things, despite the negative content, I'm still going to give Red Dead Redemption 5 stars for spiritual value, with the caveat that this is really only for adults. I have mixed feelings on the cost. On the one hand, the game is clearly AAA quality, with an accessible narrative and good extras. For the time poor, the main story of the game can be completed in about 20 hours. For the time rich, there is plenty of optional content, such as the open world activities mentioned before, as well as additional story missions for strangers. It's also important to mention that there is a zombie apocalypse alternate universe DLC that can probably run you another 5 to 10 hours. I wanted to try it out, but I'm not a big horror person, so despite its apparently high production quality, it didn't really grab me. Red Dead Redemption retails for $49.99 USD, which seems okay until you consider the fact that the game is 15 years old. Even taking into consideration the recent remastering efforts and a 50% discount, at $24.99, it still feels unreasonably priced, especially given its sequels discounts. Overall, based on the content value, narrative accessibility, and asking price, I'm going to give Red Dead 2 stars for cost. Red Dead Redemption is a really complex game to discuss from a Christian perspective. On the one hand, after playing GTA 3 and Vice City, mainly for the cool radio stations, I reached a point in my spiritual life where I didn't really want to play games whose core gameplay was committing crimes. Because of this, I avoided the GTA series and also the Red Dead series, which I perceive to be GTA with horses. In some sense, it is that, in terms of gameplay and the general setup of the world. What makes Red Dead Redemption different to me, however, is a heavy emphasis on the story, and in particular, the journey of a heavily flawed and wicked man in search of redemption. Based on the criteria discussed in the video, I subjectively assign Red Dead Redemption the rating of Genre Gem. That's all I have for you in this video.
I'll see you later.
Bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If this video blessed you in some way, please consider watching some of my other videos, subscribing, sharing the video with your friends, or sharing with me some of your thoughts in the comments below.